Tonight, First Lady Minister in 12 years to be appointed acting Premier last week. World Water Day and World Meteorological Day celebrated this week. Whakaloflayatu, I'm Sarai Mangawa and this is your BCN News. Leading our news tonight, there were no new cases of COVID-19 from yesterday's reporting period, so the number of active cases remains at 2 today. The passengers on tomorrow's flights will be tested on Saturday using RockVets and will complete their day-free PCR test at the drive-through clinic at the New FO Hospital on Monday this next week. And the passengers on Monday's flights will be tested using RockVets on Tuesday, and their day-free PCR test will be done on Thursday. This is because starting next week, Air New Zealand will be arriving on Mondays until the end of October, when it will return to Friday flights. Honourable Mona Esa Ainu, the Minister of Ministry of Natural Resources, was last week appointed as acting Premier. According to the Office of the Speaker, who signs the warrant of appointment of members of the Cabinet, the appointment of Minister Ainu as acting Premier is the first in nearly 12 years when a lady minister is appointed as acting Premier. Here's more on this story.
The last time a lady minister was appointed acting Premier was during the term of former Minister Honourable Olaf Tauveve Jacobson, when she was a minister of the late Sir Toke Talangi government. She left Cabinet before the 2011 general elections in May. Honourable Mona Ainu is only the fourth woman to be appointed a Minister of Cabinet. This is her first term as a Cabinet Minister since she was selected by Premier Dalton Tangilangi as one of his ministers in June 2020. Honourable Ainu will be acting Premier while Premier Tangilangi is in the Cook Islands until the returns to the island tomorrow.
Last week, the Public Service Commission announced the appointment of Gayleen Tasmania as the Deputy Secretary to Government. According to the statement from the Commission, the appointment of Mrs. Tasmania to the position of Deputy Secretary to Government means that the position she previously held of Director General of the Ministry of Social Services no longer exists and is disestablished as a position of the public service.
Gayleen Tasmania is one of the senior employees of the public service, having served for 29 years, working first with the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, working with her way up to Deputy Director. She was the former Director of Community Affairs before she was appointed the Director General of Social Services. Mrs. Tasmania graduated from the University of Queensland, Carlton, with a Bachelor of Applied Science in Australia. She later graduated with a Master in Science, First Class Honours from Massey University in New Zealand. In a statement to BCN News, the new Deputy Secretary to Government said that the new role will have many challenges, but I know that God is my strength and my refuge, and I will do my best to serve the people of Niue with humility and integrity. The statement from the Public Service Commission said a number of high-quality candidates based on the island applied for the role of Deputy Secretary to Government.
Yesterday, 3 government agencies collaborated in an event targeting the village councils to commemorate International Water Day. The event is organized by the Environment Department in association with the Water Division and the Public Health Division. Here's more on this story.
The day was an opportunity for the 3 government agencies to engage with the village council representatives and to hear from them any concerns they may have with regards to the water reticulation and water quality on the island. Griselda Mokoia says that the public health team continue with their quarterly testing of the water reservoir tanks in all the villages, but the ageing infrastructure, she says, is an ongoing challenge, hence the public caution to boil water before drinking, which remains in place. One of the questions raised by the village council representatives is calling on the government to find out if the water is linked to the increasing number of cancer diagnoses and other diseases seen on the island in recent years. Ms. Mokoia told BCN News that this is also something the Health Department has already started looking into.
Yes, so that was one of the concerns that the Department of Health also have, because over the years there is gradual increase in the number of cases, so we would like to find out if it has a link to the water quality that we're drinking, especially in terms of the presence of any chemicals that are in the water already. So we have already had the discussion with our colleagues from the Secretariat of the Pacific Community when he came last year to do the training for the staff, and we had also voiced our request to also have support to do the testing and the research to see what types of chemicals there are in the water at the moment, and if it really has a link to some of the emerging diseases that we are now experiencing on the island.
The event was also an opportunity for the Village Council representatives to listen to the government officials responsible for the project to install the remaining green tanks in people's homes. Director of Environment Haden Talangi explained why it has taken some time to complete the remaining installations.
When we finished the first phase, there was a lot of complaints from our communities and our households in regards to the tanks that were not connected. So it just so happened that the project ended, and some households were a bit slow to do their part in regards to the gutters. But for the second phase, we basically didn't want to muck around with waiting around for some components, and we are mindful also for some households. They're not cheap, so we're grateful to the European Union and SPC GCA project that they agreed to also fund not the whole components, but enough for the rainwater tanks to be connected.
Hivi Puhenke is responsible for the installations. He gave an informative and educational demonstration on how to clean the tanks and to keep them in good order. The installations started in February with the village of Lakepa and has now reached the village of Avaseli. But there are still some homes in those villages which will need to make sure their gutter boards are ready for the work to begin. Puhenke said that the project funds will provide all the pieces required to fully install the tank, but the homeowner is responsible to make sure the place where the tank will be located is clear and the gutter board is installed and ready for them to install the gutters. There were questions about people who want to get new tanks or those with new homes but don't yet have any tanks. Haden Talangi explains.
In regards to the second tank, that's our job. We've got a lot of feedback. There's a lot of people building homes, and also a lot of New Zealanders, Niueans that are returning. So we are mindful of that, and we will be looking at writing up another project proposal from possibly another donor that can assist. So it's not easy. It just takes time, but this has been identified by a few resident New Zealand Niueans that have returned back, and also those that are building. So there is hope that we can also develop further project proposals.
The second phase of installing the water tanks project is funded by the European Union to the tune of $800,000. Haden Talangi says that when it comes to making sure that Niue is able to buffer the shocks of natural disasters, it is important that key government agencies and the community work together. He said it is their role in the Environment Department to write the project proposals and seek funding from international organizations to ensure Niue's resilience to respond to challenges such as water contamination and the impacts of climate change.
And so this is one part of building our resilience to any shocks and challenges that we're facing globally, is that we have to ensure that the funding that we receive from overseas filters down to our communities, and that's our goal, to improve and increase our resilience. And so we can't do it alone. We need the support from the village councils and also government and also households to do their part as well. But we will try our best to develop more proposals for Niue, basically. Thank you.
Niue Power Corporation is continuing their call for people to use power conservatively over the next few days as the team tries to resolve the issues with their Tesla batteries. Acting Director of Utilities Brandon Kulasel told BCN News that they are working with Tesla engineers to try and fix the problem, but at the moment they are running on diesel generators 24/7 to carry the load.
On Friday last week, power was interrupted to the entire island. According to the Niue Power team, the battery system was offline and the team was trying to fix one of the faulty generators to help carry the load. Brendan Kulasea is the acting director of the Department of Utilities, said that the call for conservative use of power is ongoing as they try to get their BESS system operating as soon as possible. Kulasea says that this may mean turning off your air conditioning and open windows to let in some fresh air.
2 Pacific-led New Zealand government agencies are in Niue this week to promote training and professional development for the public service. The Public Service Fale, or the Fale, is a business unit at the New Zealand Public Service Commission, and the Pacific Maritime Safety Program are on island working alongside the Niue Public Service Commission. Here's more on this story.
Fale Online is a tool for Pacific public servants to access online resources and information based on Pacific Public Service Commissioner's priorities. It includes learning content from Pacific regional stakeholders, partners, and New Zealand Public Service Pacific programs. Yesterday, BCN News was able to speak with Pacific Public Service Fale Senior Advisor, Communications and Engagement, Dominic Godfrey, who arrived on the island last week.
This is our first in-country visit, and it shows the importance of Niue to the Fale, that we were first to visit here, or that Niue was our first country to visit. We're so excited to be here and to talk to our public service people about Fale Online, which is that online centre of curated knowledge where people can share, connect and learn about expertise, knowledge, professional development, personal development with a public service focus for our people, to build capacity for public service delivery for the people of Niue and for the people of the Pacific.
Being web-based, Pacific public servants can connect, share and learn wherever they have internet access, even at sea. Fale Online hosts learning modules, training plans, webinars and templates to support Pacific public servants.
The Fale is centred around 3 key areas of strength, and that's leadership development. Then there's the governance programs like integrity and ethics, building the integrity and ethics and good governance within public services. But then there's also digital capability, enhancing the digital capability of our people across the region and in Niue, of course. So within the platform, I guess why we're here is to showcase that, and one of the programs that we're working with is the Pacific Maritime Safety Program, which is another program funded by MFAT New Zealand, servicing only the Pacific, but we're working together to deliver on Fale Online the Safety at Sea modules. So this shows how the public service of Niue works with the Pacific Maritime Safety Program and the Public Service Fale to deliver these maritime safety programs, these safety modules, which can be accessed by anyone who has internet access across Niue. But as we always say, if you're accessing these programs on your mobile phone and you're at sea, always wear your life jacket first.
Both the Fale and PMSP are funded through the New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. The Fale is housed within the New Zealand's Public Service Commission to serve Pacific Commission partners, and the PMSP is delivered by Maritime New Zealand. The Fale is a Pacific-led centre of public service excellence established in 2020 at the request of 16 Pacific Public Service Commissioners, the PPSCs, from the Cook Islands, Fiji, Federated States of Micronesia, Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Nauru, New Caledonia, Niue, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tokelau, Tonga, Tuvalu and Vanuatu.
The Western and Central Pacific Fisheries Commission, chaired by Niue's very own Dr. Josie Tamate, manages the largest tuna fisheries in the world and is one of the major resources of the Western Central Pacific. Despite tuna stocks in the Pacific being in the green, there is still a lot more discussion and planning that non-governmental fisheries organizations in the Pacific still need to develop and implement for future generations. BCN News spoke with Minister of Natural Resources Mona Ainu on Niue's ongoing commitment to protect and conserve our fisheries in the Pacific and in Niue. According to the World Economic Forum, tuna stocks in the Western and Central Pacific Ocean are currently in a healthy state. There is no overfishing and the stocks are not overfished. They are in the green. However, it would not always remain this way without robust long-term management. BCN News spoke with the Minister of Natural Resources, Honourable Mona Ainu, earlier this week, who shared Niue's role with the WCPFC and other key organizations such as SPC Pacific Community with regards to tuna conservation in the Pacific.
We're very active in this conversation. As you would have all heard as well, that our very own Dr. Josie Tamate is the chair of the Western Central Pacific Fisheries Commission. This is a huge organization with 25 members, including China, US. There's a lot of discussions and there's a lot of very robust conversation within these organizations regarding the measurements or conservation of tuna.
Minister Ainu is hopeful that the key decisions and actions made today for tuna conservation and for the fisheries in the Pacific will prosper for future generations. According to Minister Ainu, in the last WCPFC meeting held in Vietnam last year, the US generously gave a total of $600 million in support for the initiatives and management of the Western Central Pacific fisheries. The funding will spread across a period of 10 years, starting from next year, 2024, at $60 million per annum. The voluntary RockVets will be returning to the island this Friday. The team of 20 consists of 7 vets, 9 nurses, and 4 administrators. This will be the 10th visit of the RockVets since 2014 to provide the necessary health check and care for the animals on the island.
The visiting RockVets teams includes familiar faces like Brian and Gail, who have been involved in voluntary work in the islands for about 30 years. They have also worked in Vanuatu, Chatham Islands, Norfolk Island and Pitcairn. A public notice on their Facebook page said that this time the team can offer transport for people if they don't have transport or the proper means to transport their pets or their animals to the clinic, which is set up at the old Halamahanga Primary School. The last time the RockVets were on the island was in November last year, with a team of 16. During that time, they desexed more than 200 cats and dogs and performed surgeries, including 3 leg amputations for dogs with chronic diseases and injuries. The RockVets said that they can desex cats and dogs even if they are pregnant or feeding babies, and they can also desex young animals as young as 3 or 4 weeks old. They will also have flea and worm treatments available for free. All treatments at the RockVets clinics are free, but a donation is always appreciated. For more information or bookings to see the RockVets, call the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries to make a booking.
The annual Ahome of the Ekalesia Niue was held on Saturday last week. The day brings together all the villages Ekalesia to a festival of hymns and fellowship, and ending the day with the traditional Ta Sika.
This year is also the first Ahome for the new president of the Ekalesia Niue, Reverend Navy Salatielo, and his wife Laluifi. Felix Hatutu from the Avaseli Ekalesia won the Ta Sika competition. The day raised just over $38,000 for the work of the church. The Ahome is one of the 2 main fundraising events on the Ekalesia annual calendar, where the village Ekalesia and donations are raised for the work of the church. In October last year, the Ekalesia raised during the Gospel Day celebrations more than $85,000 for the church. The Ahome celebrations on Saturday were attended by 12 villages at Ekalesia. The next event of the Ekalesia New Year calendar of events is the Sunday School Rally during Easter weekend on the 8th of April.
Niue's meteorological services, together with the National Council of Women, were able to celebrate and commemorate World Meteorological Day at the Makini Hall earlier today. March 23rd is the day the World Meteorological Organization was established in 1951, and this year marks the 73rd anniversary of the organization. Here's more on this story. The theme for this year is the future of weather, climate and water across generations. In collaboration with the National Council of Women, the Niue Met Office hosted an event where women from around the island gathered to bring their food to display and speak about the process of gathering or growing the ingredients and how this has been impacted by weather, water and the changing climate. The Niue Met and NCW began their 2-day program, which commenced yesterday. The program included a series of discussions, presentations, learning and awareness on meteorology. Minister of Natural Resources and Acting Premier Honourable Mona Inu opened the 2-day program yesterday. In today's program of celebrating World Meteorological Day, it was conducted by Met Officer Robert Tonyamana. The program was opened by Reverend Nevi Salatielu. Speeches included New Zealand High Commissioner Helen Tana and Australian High Commissioner Louise Allerton before it was concluded with the Director of Niue Met, Rosie Misiepo. BCN News was able to speak with NCW Representative Rupina Morrissey earlier today.
I think Niue's been blessed that we have the people in place that have been working and teaching us how to cope with disasters. I was fortunate enough to be one of the women that went on a disaster management trip to Japan, and there we were shown how to prepare, what we should be doing, and how we should be encouraging the women to prepare when there's nothing happening.
The program ended with the display of the women's traditional foods, a message from Meteorological Officer Robert Tonyamana to be mindful, be aware, be educated and prepared for the changes in weather and climate as the times are vastly changing. To end our news tonight, in the lead up to the general elections next month, BCN News understands from sources at the Justice Department that the registration forms for new electors are available now. So if you are 18 years and over and have not yet registered as an elector, the registration forms are now available at the Justice Department. If you are someone who has returned to the island, you may inquire at the Justice Department about your eligibility to be able to vote at the general elections next month. The Chief Electoral Officer, Darren Tohovaka, is expected to make the public announcement of the general elections and to begin the election process next week. And that is our news bulletin for tonight. Join us again next week for more of our local news. I'm Soraya Mangawa. Have a good night.